Hey, Christopher, how you doing today?
Fantastic. How are you doing, David? It's toward the tail end of Scorpio time, so hopefully things will become less intense.
Yeah, this has been an intense ride. I called this the big landmine in one of my horoscopes this week that we went through, and it's very intense. We got the North Node, which is still in Scorpio, which I think adds the intensity just at twofolds, and we got Mercury coming out of the retrograde, Jupiter going, retrograde, Neptune switching. I mean, that's a big kind of a whirlpool to go through that we've been through.
It absolutely is. And today, the day we're releasing this video, we've got that kind of synchronistic, or not synchronistic, but the harmonizing, the conjoining of Venus and Pluto in Capricorn. And I like this energy as we build to this full moon, because I feel like this is going to give us a lot of grounding, because the full moon is going to be in Taurus, and we've got Mars down there in Virgo. So we're going to have a grand trine by signs with a nice balance. Mars, Venus, that's a nice balancing combination. We've got the moon being active there. And so I think that even though the weekend is going to be very intense for people, I think this coming full moon at the end of the weekend is going to be very revelatory. You're going to understand things that you've been wondering about for a long time.
Yeah, this is kind of a relief full moon, I think, because we're finally going to be coming out of so much deepness. The sun is finally coming out of the last eclipse zone. So finally the sun in Scorpio is coming out of so much karmic kind of energy and whirlpools and so much intensity that you just spoke of at the beginning of this. So the full moon in Taurus here to start this off with Venus-Pluto conjunct, because actually it's interesting, the moon here on Friday trines over to the Venus-Pluto conjunction. So there's a lot in this feeling. I think it's also interesting the North Node is sextiling this, Saturn sextiling this, Mercury's sextiling this. There's a lot about our value systems and whether or not we are hoarding on to the wrong ones or maybe obsessive over the wrong ones. This is over relationships as well with Venus. And it's interesting that the moon is planted in Taurus for this, which has to do with the things we hold on to. This has to do with our value systems. And we got to make sure that we're releasing and letting go of certain things in order for us to manifest the best, for us to live in the Scorpio realm. We might need to ditch a couple things that we might be holding on to. These are feelings that we're holding on to. These are relationships. These are, there's a lot here to shed.
There absolutely is. And one of the things I was just observing as we were or as you were giving us your insight there, was that Mercury is going to be sitting dead bang on that node in Scorpio as the moon goes full in Taurus. And I think that, again, that pulls in a lot of karmic energy and combines it with that mercurial energy. So a lot of communication on Monday could have very profoundly karmic overtones. It could set the tone for months or years to come. It could resolve a lot of stuff from the past that you've been dragging around and you're ready to let go of. And I think overall it is... it's going to elevate us by giving us options and opportunities to speak our truth, release it, and move on.
Yeah, it's a moving on that I think we need to step into, and a pushing through. It's a necessary evil, kind of. It's not simple. There's a lot of work to do here. Scorpio is such a shedding off place. It is a transformation place. It is a place of death. And, there's a lot of that kind of floating around here as we step into this. And that moon in Taurus hates death. It likes life. It likes springtime. It likes flowers. It likes money. It likes positive things. So this can be kind of a weird position this weekend, is where our emotions are wanting this freshness, this nice kind of vibe, whereas we're still finishing a hard struggle to disconnect and cut away from the things that are unnecessary, cut away from the darker realms, the deeper inner work. This isn't so much about the outer that this full moon might want. And you're going to have to step into letting go, releasing, you know, and I think a lot of this is just an emotional roller coaster that you could be putting yourself through by being connected to the wrong things.
That definitely is a fact. And then we've got Jupiter sitting over there, moving backwards in the direction of that Venus-Pluto interaction as we have that moon going full. And Jupiter does like to, you know, add its juice to things. It does like to expand things as rapidly as possible. And I think we're going to see that happening in the midst of this. So again, with people, you know, if you are focusing your energy on this this particular full moon, I think you really need to be very sensitive to the idea of expansion, because Jupiter is going to be feeding into this full moon in a very significant way, and Uranus is going to be feeding into this full moon. We're putting a lot of tension into it. So it's going to be kind of a dicey couple of days here as we go through the weekend and then emerge by Tuesday morning after the full moon with a whole new vision of what our priorities are.
Big priority checks that deal deep inside, that deal in your external reality, but don't go outer before you go inner, I think is the lesson. Go inner first. Go with what you feel inside. Don't go with what seems right that the outer world would do or that's right in the outer world. You know, this is what you would do in your inner world. The other thing is Jupiter retrograde, Neptune stationary direct. There's these big planets that are stuck. They're not moving. And so these are two planets of hope, optimism, spirituality, imagination. They're off right now. They're at a very stuck position. Mars in Virgo is very intense in reality. Almost feel like you're forced into situations in the reality, forced to adjust things, forced to change it up, forced to change, forced to make adjustments everywhere in your life. This can be difficult. This is not simple, and when you're dealing with all the Scorpio in the dark, you're having to, you know, tie your shoe in the dark in the mud kind of energy. Like, oh, really? And it's cold? You know, it's like, oh, you know, and so you can make it through if you really do your work on the inside, if you learn to expand your comfort zones, you know. There's a lot of feelings of retreating that could happen right now. I just want to go retreat, you know, but I think part of the lesson is to keep finding a way to push through it and staying strong and staying, you know, on top of your truth and aligning with the work that you're clearing, because this bottom that is being cleared, which I look at Scorpio as the bottom of the barrel, really makes for the rest of the barrel to be cleaned out, so you don't have that gross froth at the top of your life, the Taurus part, because your bottom is fake or it's in a wrong route. So this is the important work to do in your life at this time.
It absolutely is. One of the things that we very rarely mention are any of the eastern points, and this particular full moon, the part of fortune, which is one of the eastern parts, falls in Gemini at about 15 degrees. I find that interesting that it's exactly dead bang in the middle of Gemini. And Mercury is very much a participant in the energy of this full moon. And I think you'll find your prize. You'll find the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow in that mercurial Gemini area in your chart. Look at 15 degrees of Gemini in your personal chart, and then, you know, try to associate that with other planetary placements. And I think you, each listener as an individual, will get an insight. You'll get an aha moment as to what this coming full moon is all about for you personally. And that's one of the little secrets as to how we can apply the chart's activity, apply the planetary movement to our own personal journey in the material world here. So this midpoint in Gemini, 15 degrees Gemini, is where the treasure is to be found. And if you do the right association, you'll discover kind of a treasure map within your own chart.
It is, and you know where it's pointing to, I think, is this Chiron energy that goes direct here on Tuesday. So we start the week off. Monday, you know, is I think going to be kind of a curious day. You know, the moon's going to come out of the full moon over the weekend that we have, step into Gemini, really spark that energy. There's an understanding that's needing to be found, especially as we went through a Venus-Pluto conjunction with people and value systems, a full moon of, you know, this inner work we're doing. How interesting. Chiron comes direct here, and I think this is what you and I were discussing before we came on here, is there's a lot of things that are going to come into play here with Chiron coming direct. The last time Chiron was direct was in June when it went retrograde, and that was when the sun was in Gemini, and the moon will be in Gemini for this. So I think it's interesting that you pointed to Gemini, because there's a lot of connection to Gemini. There's a reason why Jupiter went through Gemini this year. That, believe it or not, our minds are pretty clear. They're pretty logical. They have a lot of sense. And it's our feelings that are kind of getting lost here. You know, as Jupiter's been expanding them, they're retrograding. We've got full moon energy. We've got all the Scorpio energy in the dark. You know, our feelings are really kind of in a weird position. Even though there's all these trines and Chiron coming off, there's a lot of past life karma. There's a lot of weird stuff happening. And it is our logical mind that can almost in many ways finally do its real job and help out the situation.
Exactly. And, you know, the message of Chiron, as we were chatting earlier, Chiron really doesn't become active in a person's chart until they initiate their spiritual journey. And that's when all of a sudden you really get a profound infusion of that energy into your day-to-day experience. And Chiron, when you look at the idea behind it, the wounded healer, the person who goes through life trying to heal others, but ignoring the, you know, the fact that they have a deep wound and living in a state of avoidance, not wanting to look at that. And that really is, as Chiron directs this time, we're going to get kind of a double whammy energy of that. And you are going to have to look at the wounds that you have been afraid to address. And you are going to have to look at the process of accepting healing. You know, healing is not something that you do. Healing is something that you accept because it's contingent on your allowance of the activity, the presence of God in your life. So however you envision God, whatever your particular avenue of spiritual pursuit is, you're going to really have to pick up that theme as Chiron starts to advance when it goes direct in Pisces, because we'll have Neptune and Chiron both in very intense positions within the sign of Pisces, and it is going to make demands on us, and it is going to open us up to creativity and to healing.
It's also, I think, triggering deep conversations. I think Mercury on the North Node through this in Scorpio, this Venus-Pluto, there's some deep conversations to have with people. And I think this wounded healer energy that we're all going through, because we're all going through it, we all have stuff we're trying to sort through and healing ourselves. And when it's in Pisces like this, this is dealing with our spirit. And I think doubly our spiritual journey that you bring up. I think it's in double whammy mode now here. And all this Mercury energy and the moon in Gemini, I think, is here to spark conversations, to release some stuff, because I think these emotions need to find a way to come out. I'll be very honest with the audience. I woke up this morning crying. I've never in my life done that. Now, I think in many ways it shows that I need to release and I need to accept some emotions to let go of and speak up. And I think there's a lot of that going on, especially as Jupiter's retrograding now. There's a lot of review, a lot of inner emotions now that we've expanded and grown in that we need to let out. And there's no coincidence with Mercury in the North Node, which is basically if you want to look at it in a very kind of weird way, it's a solar eclipse of Mercury. Like, to me, I look at it that way. I mean, this is a mercurial eclipse, a communication, a mental one of an understanding, an idea that sparks, that says, you know what? It's very deep now. I know. I'm figuring this out. It's Dick Tracy energy, Mercury in Scorpio. And so we're detectives finding out what is wounding us. What are these feelings? What are these issues? What should I be manifesting from? What can I adjust in my life? It's a big deal.
It absolutely is. And the interesting thing is, as Mercury, trundled across that node the first time, then went retrograde, went back across that node, and now is direct and going across the node and is setting exactly conjunct the node with this full moon. The intensity of all that activity tells me that you are really being led to that point of recognizing some deep inner truth that you have really been in resistance to. And Mercury is a communicator. Mercury is saying, okay, this time we're going to get it. We're going to hear the clarion call. The trumpet is going to sound. And by God, when the trumpet sounds, you're going to jump up. You're going to be resurrected. You're going to come out of that little death, whatever that little death is that's in your life. You are going to awaken.
Yeah, this is one of the last weeks of this deep inner work, because we are on the last week of Scorpio. We do have Chiron coming direct here. We do have all this energy and deep energies. The moon midway through this week, after Chiron comes direct, comes into Cancer as the last degrees of Scorpio click in. So I believe that it is this is the week here with a full moon, the deep energy. It's time to just go with this. Let's just do it. Let's go into our inner worlds. Let's clear this energy. Let's figure out what it is. Let's do the work. My ear just totally rang incredibly, like wow, like a big strike. I guess I'm on the right page.
Yes, the lightning bolt was personal in that one.
It was actually a loud one too, like I was like, whoa. You'll probably see it on the tape. But it is this deep world we're going to be in, and then, believe it or not, as we come out of the end of this week, Moon's going to come into Leo to the weekend, and the Sun comes into Sagittarius, and there is a huge pulling out of this. So, this is a powerful week. In the external world, sure, I think that you can get through the motions this week and, have some good conversations and, make some big decisions, though, with relationships. I think this is a big week to pay attention to. This is one of the last big turning points of a long story we've been playing out.
Well, and as soon as we hit the fire energy, everything will dry out, which is nice. All that soggy energy will start to lighten up, and then we have the holidays. And the first holiday that we address is Thanksgiving, giving thanks for the journey and all of the blessings that have been a part of the journey. And I think that a lot of times we look at our chart, we look at planetary interaction, and we make that proclamation, oh, it was so hard. Oh, look at me, I had that. I had to climb Mount Olympus by myself. And the reality is that it's a shared journey, and the healings that we're doing on ourselves are healings that are having a profound effect on others around us. And so as we move into November, the tail end of November at Sagittarius time, that Thanksgiving energy is very, very appropriate. And I would encourage people to make plans to get out this year and do something as a way of honoring and acknowledging how profoundly supportive Spirit has been as we've been moving through this last year of turmoil. It has been tumultuous, but it has been profoundly empowering at the same time.
Tremendously powerful, tremendously changing. Sometimes, well, I don't even think sometimes, it is necessary for powerful change in our lives, and it's not going to come without such intensity, It's interesting that you bring up how Spirit's been, backing this up. It's very true. What I also am sensing is that the universe is widely adjusting our reality. And so, we kind of have to go through the motions the same way here in LA when I go through traffic and they adjust the freeways and stuff. It could be a pain in the butt. But when this is complete, wow, the roads of our new infinity are wider. And I think that's also what's going on behind the curtain, is there's some really big adjusting happening.
Yes, and of course, we have written the script as a collective, defining ourselves as cripples. And God consciousness is coming along and saying, well, hey, I created you guys in my image and likeness, and I'm not a cripple, thank you very much. I'm not limited, thank you very much. So that really is the precipice we've arrived at. We're standing at the edge of the universe, looking across this vast expanse and beginning to realize, oh, I'm as vast as a personal being as the universe is. And I'm as magical, I'm as much filled with light as everything that I'm surrounded by. So this is a pivotal point. We've had Mayan prophecies, we've had Native American prophecies, we've had Chinese prophecies. You know, I mean, everything seems to be coming up to this period between now and the end of next year as being that turning point where we finally begin to get a glimpse of how beautiful and how empowered we all are individually as soon as we embrace the one common theme that makes it all work, and that's the idea of love.
It is. I think it is love that's the answer to all this, and Scorpio energy squares Leo, which is love. That there is a truth that must be found in order to access the love, though. There is transformation that must happen to give the love. The old energies of love, I think, in the way that this earth and our own individual lives had all teed up for, wasn't teed up good enough anymore. So Scorpio, even though it doesn't really represent the love energy as well, right? It squares it. It does represent the ability, which is hard but necessary, in order for us to get love. And so change must happen. Truth must be found. Deep inner work must be done. So you don't deal with the Taurus energy, which squares that and opposes that, is, you know, being stuck in maybe old, you know, values and an old reality and old things that could hold you from love as well. Yes. It's clearing the decks, you know.
Well, Scorpio, its nature is to challenge, and that's exactly what it has been doing. It has been challenging us in the way of, do you deserve love? And we have to have a resounding response to that challenge. We have to come from the core of our being and say, yes, I deserve love, and I am willing to give love in order to participate in that whole process of how the universe is unfolding, minute by minute, hour by hour, and day by day basis. So again, you have to drag yourself back from the dark side of Scorpio, the revenge, the not letting go. You know, a lot of Scorpios will remember something that happened 38 years ago and still hold you accountable for it. And the truth is that to really able to enable yourself to participate with this universal process and to be able to master the Scorpio energy, the hardest thing to do is to let go of that bitterness about the past. Scorpio challenges us to do that, but once we do, it releases us to get back over into our Leo state of consciousness and to really joyfully go out and share that love and spread it around.
Yeah, that holding on is a good analogy for any fixed sign, especially Scorpio or Leo or Taurus or even Aquarius. But what it does is, by us releasing what we're holding on, we go hold on to something else. It's not like it goes empty for a long time. The change is fast. When you die, you're reborn. When you're born, you know, it's instant. That's one thing about Scorpio. Once you make the change is there. You know, you could be amazed on how fast change can happen in Scorpio as long as you put the work in to change it, and you can move from one thing to another thing. I think it could be very easy. I think that we end this week with the moon trining all this Scorpio stuff in a good place for us to understand these feelings. It will oppose the Pluto-Venus energy in Capricorn. I think there's a lot of this, you know, this world to pay attention to, of our values, of what we're manifesting, what our plans are, where our emotions are lying. Is our truth really connected with the right plans? Is it really connected with the right emotions? Are we rooting in the right places? And I think this is important. I think we're going to have to pay attention to these spots, because with Chiron direct and Neptune direct, there's an engaging now spiritually that is going to move forward and take us into deeper realms of our spirit, in our conscious and our awareness. This is a graduation week in many ways, of us reaching these spots and getting to move on.
As we look at that activity in Cancer and Pisces, we see Jupiter moving toward Chiron and Pisces. We see Jupiter moving toward Neptune and Pisces. So there's, I guess you could say, a sympathetic reaction, response going on within the universe. And for our tarot, first card up as we move into the weekend, look at that, Three of Rods, looking off to the past and to the ships in life that we have sent out on a mission to find new things, to bring a treasure to us. So this is the return of those ships. And really you can see it here in this particular illustration. You can see the ship coming home, bringing the prize back to you. And that really is the theme as we initiate this weekend, is recognizing the prize is right here, and the ship is about to hit the dock, and we are going to see the rewards for all of our work. Through the weekend, we have really a field of pure potentiality with this full moon. So it is very elastic. It's a type of full moon that you can shape into your reality and to, well, I guess you could say, expand it and use it in a celebrative fashion. Because again, it is kind of a joyous process of awakening, illumination. It's the process of exiting the Scorpio cycle and moving back into that energy of fire and illumination. A lot of karma being burned off this coming week. The Wheel of Fortune, the wheel is turning. And again, that's that activity of the nodes being integrated into this full moon weekend and this, the following few days. So we will see a lot of karmic wind down. And then toward the end of the week, as we're finishing up on Thursday and moving into next Friday with a shift into Sagittarius, another cycle of harvest. This is a card of fruition, Seven of Pentacles. The fruit is on the vine. All you have to do is reach up and pluck that apple and enjoy it, savor it as a reward of you know, all the effort that you've been putting into crafting a beautiful lifestyle for yourself. So very interesting cards, very positive cards as we move out of Scorpio towards Sagittarius.
You know what blew my mind about the cards was the star card. As you pulled that for the full moon, that how interesting in the star card, there's the 7 sisters in the background. You can count 7 stars on the card. And that's the Pleiades stars system, which is in Taurus. And the full moon is in that exact position of the 7 sisters.
Yes.
So
and
it's pretty
and in Japan, they refer to that particular configuration as Subaru.
Ah.
So, yeah, that's why all those Subarus that you see have the 7 stars in the symbol on their hood. So yes, the Pleiades is very, very much active as we're moving into this full moon.
It's a powerful week. A lot of karma being burned off, like you wrote. There is this ship coming in, but I think you need to understand that. I think the Jupiter lesson is knowing the ship's coming in. This isn't the moment when the ship's in yet, though. You know, like we got to get there. So, you know, I think make it through this week. Follow your emotions. You know, listen to your dreams. Listen to this underworld. Listen. Don't pay so attention to your outer world right now. I don't think it's actually. I think a lot of people are paying attention to their inner world, and they might you know, it might be hard for some of your friends or your family or your relatives or something to even come out with it. It's not easy stuff to bring up. Usually we have to be very intimate with somebody to bring some of this stuff up, you know? And it's hard for some people, but I think if you find the deep conversations this week, it'll help you out a lot.
It definitely will. And vulnerability is factored into this too. Let your guard down. Let the shields down. Recognize that vulnerability is the avenue that brings us into communion with those around us. So be vulnerable, be available, be present, and it's going to be a spectacular week.
Yes, and I can't wait to see where we go next week after this full moon and we get into all this fire energy. And, you know, I think there's a real treat, that ship coming in waiting for us as we step into next weekend.
Yes, it's entering into the era of the holidays. It's going to be a joyous, you know, activity for all of us, I'm sure.
Yep. Well, thank you wonderfully, and I love you, brother, and I will see you next week.
Yes, you take care, David, and I'm surrounding you with light, and we're all going to take that next step together. It's going to be awesome.
All right, buddy. Talk to you then.
Okay.